Sumter County will host the biggest game in Georgia High School Association this week. We'll talk about it next on the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello and welcome to the live edition of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are on site at the Roman Oven Pizzeria, and we'd love to have you come by and join us. There's some good food always waiting, and we're going to talk a lot of high school football tonight. We're going to get started a little early tonight because we saw A.J. Kearse, the Sumter County Panther star, eating in here. We've been trying to get A.J. on for several years, so man, thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure being here.
AJ, let's get started. First of all, you guys had a great year last year, going 9-1 in the regular season, still undefeated this year. Tomorrow night's game against the Carver Tigers, probably the biggest high school football game in 25 years. How do you as a player feel about such a big matchup?
Yes, I feel great. Carver coming in, they're the number one team for a reason. They have some great players, but we're hungry, so we're ready to play.
AJ, I understand you've already committed Eastern Michigan. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about what went into that decision.
We went up there for an official visit it was this year. It was about 3 months ago. We went up for an official visit. I felt at home, and they allowed me to play the position I'm playing now, so I felt comfortable making that decision.
Good deal. I want to talk a little bit about your coaches, AJ. I've known you since you were a little kid, and one of the things I've always respected about you was the fact that you were a coachable player. You got a guy like Will Rogers that comes in here. He brings in a really good staff. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with not just Coach Rogers, but that entire coaching staff.
Yes, sir. Coach Rogers, he's a real serious guy. He'll come in. He'd be real serious. We'll come through practice, be disciplined. And even all the coaching staff, they come in, we be serious during practice, but after practice, it's all smiles.
AJ, I saw where you had a career-type game last week. Two touchdowns on offense, a scoop and score, and an interception. Had to be the thrill of a lifetime for you.
Yes, sir. It felt good. It felt real good. I don't think I have had a game with 2 offensive touchdowns and 2 defensive touchdowns before, so it felt real good.
I bet you did, but I bet you were about 8 years old or 9 years old. AJ, tell me this. You've got your father that is on the school board. Your family is ultra supportive of you. What does it mean to you, not just to have a family support like that, but a community that's now supporting you?
Yes, sir. It feels good. I grew up here. I was born and raised here, so a lot of people know me here, so it feels good. I have a community behind me.
Tell us this. Look right into this camera. Tell the community that you're talking to how important it is for them to come out tomorrow night.
It's very important, because we're going to have home field advantage, come out, be loud. Let's get this win.
A.J. Kearse, he's the star of the Sumter County High School Panthers. They are 7-0. They want you to come out and see them tomorrow night. We're going to talk more about that game in a little bit as both Logan Luten and Scott Westbrook will join us. A.J., thank you for joining me, man. It's been great to have you. We wish you the best tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
A.J. Kearse. In just a moment, we'll talk with Scott Westbrook and Logan Luten. You're watching the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Man, that was a fun interview. Always enjoy being with A.J. Kearse, and what a big game tomorrow night over at Finkley Robinson. Hey, before we get too far along, let me mention our premier sponsor. Our show each week is brought to you by Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, they're the proud premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are entering week 9 of the high school football season, and it is a huge week for the Sumter County Panthers. There won't be a more premier matchup in the state of Georgia than you'll see tomorrow night at Finkley Robinson Stadium here in Americus. The Carver High Tigers come to town as the number 1 ranked team in the state. Logan, like I told AJ, I think this is the biggest game here in Sumter County in 25 years.
I fully agree, and there's the energy around it is palpable. You know, talking, me and my granddad are been going to all the games for many years, and for the past 2 years, this has been the one where we've been like, this is the one, this is the game. You know, the rest of Sumter and Carver's region, it's not the most competitive region, and then you get to this game, and it's like, whoa. Like, these two amazing teams are in this region where they don't really play a lot of good competition, and they meet up. It's a true clash of titans. It's a big one. And after Sumter didn't do so hot last year, they're a visibly better team this year going into it. It's looking to be an even better game than it's scheduled to be.
It's not only a big week for Sumter County, the Southland Academy Raiders will open region play as they'll host Trinity Christian from Dublin. Both teams come into the contest with a record of 5-2, and the winner gets a front row seat in terms of playoff seedings. Of course, the GIAA goes by the Max Prep rating system, so a big win from Southland Academy tomorrow night would really up their stock in the playoff seeding. That'll be held at Harvey Simpson Stadium. Logan, you and I were talking before we went on the air. Southland got off to the slow start, 0-2. But now a 5-game win streak on the line, and they're not just beating teams. They're convincingly beating teams.
For sure. And I remember talking about it last time I was here. We've got, they were 0-2 last time, and then they were getting some players back. They were just starting to click. It was showing signs they were just right there, and they have not only jumped over that line, they have stormed past it in a blaze of glory. And so it's homecoming. It's palpable energy. It's a big game, and you have everything that leads up to homecoming, but if you're one of the players on the team, the homecoming week, that sets aside, because that game, that's the culmination of it all. That's the true test. And so you're ready for it, especially if you've been playing well. Coming into a big game like that, you're on a high, you're ready to go.
The Sly County Wildcats will have an open week this week after a tough loss to region rival Taylor County, and then they'll end their season with 2 very winnable games against Central of Talbotton and against Marion County. So the Cats should finish the year at 6-4 with the number 2 seed in the region, and that would allow them to host a playoff game. I want to bring in our co-host Scott Westbrook, Scott is out in Colorado tonight and visiting with his son Carson. Scott, I want to get your thoughts real quickly on that Sly County Taylor County game from last week.
You know, Tim, my sound, is it working okay?
It is.
Okay, good. All right. We said last week that for Sly County to win this game, they were going to have to play mistake-free football. There's no secret. Taylor County is loaded this year with a stable full of athletes, and they are a lot, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of them are going to be D1 players, and maybe and a good portion maybe D2 players on that particular team, from the freshmen to the seniors. Well, it was a close game, but the turnovers and just some unfortunate play on special teams ended up being the difference in that game. There was a kickoff that really was just an odd situation where the Sly County players thought it was going to bounce out of bounds. It did not, and Taylor County recovered and got a cheap, easy touchdown on that one. There was an interception that was right before the second half that was tough because Sly was driving at that time and they were in the red zone, and it was interception. There was a couple of other turnovers too. So, like we said last week, and it was a close game, and Sly did a great job. I want you to know, I caught it from my wife on the way home. As soon as I got out of the parking lot at Roman Oven, I called her and I said, "Would you watch the show?" She said, "Yeah, if I was a Sly County fan, I wouldn't like you." And I could tell right quick she was speaking from her heart as a fan. That I said, "Well, sweetheart," I said, "Listen," I said, "Tim and I have always said we're not gonna be negative. We're gonna be truthful and honest and call it like we see it." And I said, "That's what we had to do." I mean, there was just, when you've got that many athletes that Taylor County has, you just have to play mistake-free football to win that game.
Scott, we're going to keep you around as we talk about Sly County and get your comments on that. Logan, let's recap this. The Sly County Wildcats lost on the road last week to Taylor County. 36-23 was the final score. So here's the deal. Sly County is now 4-4 on the year. They're 3-1 in region play. Scott, I'll start with you. It came down, I think, to exactly something you mentioned last week, the Jimmies and Joes. As you mentioned earlier, Taylor County's got some of those guys that only come along once in maybe a generation, and they've got those guys piled up, kind of like Sly had a few years ago when they had the Zacchaeus Walkers and the Jalewis Solomons and the Zayden Walkers, those guys. Now it's kind of cyclical, and Taylor County's sitting in that spot.
They are, but it's gonna be short lived for Taylor County, because this year some of their players are going to graduate. Some of those, I think Chan Lumpkin, who's committed to Tulane, and I talked with one of their coaches last week, one of the Taylor County coaches, and I said really, I figured once Chan got that Tulane offer, I figured a lot more would be rolling in, because he checks all the boxes. When you look at him, he checks all the boxes for a Division I receiver / but I mean, it looks like I think he's actually being recruited as a linebacker is what he's being recruited as. So I'm really surprised that a good many other offers at the FBS level didn't roll in. But Taylor County, and go back to Leland Holder. I mean, he's the quarterback. He stepped up. He's having really good weeks. It seems to be now that the focus on Taylor County now has shifted towards Macon County, because they know that's the last hurdle they got to get over for the region championship.
Logan, Scott mentioned the Taylor County quarterback, Leland Holder. Not many folks knew about Leland Holder before he came into this year, and here he is 7 games into the season, and he's thrown for over 1,500 yards. I think any high school program would love a guy like that.
For sure, and you get a guy, especially someone that not a lot of people have heard of. There's a certain amount of expectations if he's your starter. You want him to go out there and play well, but there's also you don't expect too much if it's not a highly touted guy. Then you come in there for 1,500 yards in 7 games. That's pretty good stuff. You ought to be winning games with that.
So this week, Sly County gets a chance to rest. They've got their first open week. So Scott, what do you do in an open week? You're 4-4 with 2 very winnable games coming up. If you're Darren Alford, what's the focus this coming week?
The focus is get your players healthy, get them refocused, let them realize that game last week does not define your season. Obviously, it's a game they wanted to win, but it was a tough hill to climb. It really was, and so what you need to do is just get the kids refocused on the rest of the season and hopefully build some momentum going into the playoffs.
Scott, before we let you go, I want to ask about your son. I know he had some surgery today. Tell everybody what's going on with Carson.
Well, you see, I haven't shaved. I look pretty rough. I wish I'd have put some filter or something up. But yeah, he had surgery this morning. He hurt his shoulder last week. Same shoulder he hurt before. It was a different, and they tried to explain to me how it was different than the last injury, but it was only supposed to be an hour and a half surgery, and it stretched into 2.5 hours. And we later found out that it was because they put 11 anchors in his shoulder. Now that I don't know a whole lot about it, but my sister-in-law, who's an orthopedic PA, and the head trainer who we were talking to today at the University of Colorado, they were all like, "Oh my goodness, 11 anchors! That's huge. That's a lot." So that tells me that they've decided to quit playing around and go ahead and make sure that thing doesn't give him any more troubles. And he gets a medical red shirt this year. He's upstairs, and we're out here in a hotel, and we're staying in a handicap accessible room for him. We've got him up in there, and we got him back in there, and he's resting, and hopefully, he wants to go to the game on Saturday. But I told him, I said, the sideline is a dangerous place for a healthy player, much less somebody who just got out of surgery 2 days ago. So I just don't think that I think I'm going to try to keep him in the hotel until we head back.
Scott, before we let you go too, I know you want to chime in real quickly on Sumter County and on Southland Academy. It's a big week of high school football that I'm sure you'd much rather be here to watch some good high school football, but quickly give us your thoughts on those two games.
Let me tell you what happened this past week. As luck would have it, I do a good bit of work in Columbus, and I did have 2 days that I had to go look at some stuff and to bring some work out here. One of the properties I had to go look at was in Columbus. And who was it? They played Spencer last week. Is that who? Yeah, okay. One of the Spencer coaches was the house I had to go look at, and of all the people in the world. And we started talking high school football. I told him about this show, and let me tell you something. He had some video ready at that game, and he firmly believed, and from what he showed me, that Spencer, a couple of plays here and there could have changed momentum in that game, and it could have gone the other direction. I mean, the final score, and he showed me. He had it ready, pulled up when I walked in. And he didn't know that but I could tell he had been watching it before I got there. So, that game last week, hopefully, I'm glad they've got it behind them. This has been a game that we've all said that Americus, Sumter has been circled on their schedule for a year. Everybody in the community's looking for it and all. I'm just hoping there's a great big turnout and that Sumter County gets an early lead and just builds on that. Is what I'm hoping. As far as Southland is a program, we said that they were hopefully going to turn around, and we're going to start seeing it, where we talked about that when you're turning a program around, a new coach comes in, you lose games big, then you lose games close, then you win games close, and then you win games big. Well, Southland's in that category now. They're winning games big, and they've got momentum. Regardless what happens here on out, I believe Southland's a program that's been turned around by Coach Chance Jones. It's headed in the right direction. They've got the brass ring is right there in front of them for this season if they just do what they're supposed to do the rest of the way.
Scott, we appreciate you joining us again today. Again, please tell Carson we're thinking about him and praying for him. Going to finish the show out with Logan, but again, thanks for joining us from out in Colorado.
Logan, I tell you what, thank you so much for helping us out here, brother, man. You do a great job, and we appreciate you so much, man.
All right, Scott, have a good one.
Thank you, buddy. See y'all.
Our show is brought to you each week in part by Carter's Fried Chicken. They're located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shadows and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials featuring baked or fried chicken, vegetables, and the best desserts in Americus, and they do it all at an affordable price. Carter's Fried Chicken supports all of our local area teams and wishes everyone the best of luck tomorrow night. Thanks again to Carter's Fried Chicken for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. All right, Logan, let's get to Southland Academy. Southland, for 3 consecutive weeks now, has just been totally dominant. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They're now 5-2. Every aspect of Southland football, defense, offense, special teams, all of it's clicking on all cylinders.
You don't win 5 straight with it not clicking. There's got to be, I think, the element of complementary football is, I don't watch Southland games, but you don't win 5 straight games without, the offense has a bad possession, defense goes out there and plays well. Defense maybe gives up a score, offense ready to go back out there and match. You don't win that many games without both sides of the ball playing together. And I'm sure they have guys playing both ways, so they're also feeling that. Being able to contribute, if you're a receiver and a defensive back, being able to contribute both ways when both sides are clicking, that feels amazing. It's great they're riding high as a team winning 5 straight.
That's a great point, Logan. And one perspective I really felt like you could bring tonight, tomorrow night is homecoming for Southland. There's a lot of distractions for a high school kid during homecoming. You got dress-up days during the week. You've got a parade that's going on. There's a lot of things that can keep their focus off of the football game. If you're sitting in Chance Jones or his coaching staff shoes, how do you keep these guys focused for tomorrow night?
Well, I already mentioned it earlier. You've got all this stuff for the players. The homecoming game, that's the real big one. Because then that's what you cap off homecoming with. This is South Georgia. That's some homecoming football. That's what we do around here. But as a coaching staff, I think the big thing when you're at practices, you're reminding the guys, hey, this is a homecoming game. This is the game. We still have to play the game. It's just like any other football game. And then you're also relying on your seniors, your guys that are leaders. They have a senior quarterback. I'm sure they have plenty of other seniors out there. Those are the guys that you have to rely on leading the team in the correct direction so that they can still be on task and be focused throughout the rest of the week. Because you're right, it can be a very distracting week, very busy. Your brain can be going all over the place, but you got to make sure that you're focused on the task at hand.
What do we know about Trinity Christian? Well, we know they have one really good athlete. His name is Wade Register. He is committed to the University of Georgia as a punter, but he also plays linebacker and a little bit of running back. So Wade Register will definitely be the guy that you'll look to. Also understand he's got a huge younger brother that's maybe a freshman or a sophomore, but a big guy. So those two Register brothers, Southland will have to keep their eye on. Their quarterback this year was not who they expected to be at quarterback, Logan. The quarterback that was expected to be the quarterback broke a bone. I don't remember if it was a foot or an ankle, but he had a broken bone in the preseason scrimmage and hasn't been able to play quarterback. So Jacob Solly, who was originally scheduled to be a running back, has had to come in and play quarterback, but he's performed relatively well after getting thrown into the fire. Southland is a 17-point favorite, according to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We're going to pick the winners at the end of this show tonight, but good to know that folks are starting to give some love to Southland Academy.
For sure. Well, like I said, your 5-game win streak, homecoming, that's one of the biggest home field advantages you could possibly have, because everyone and their mama and their mama's mama probably is going to be at that game. It's going to be difficult to find a seat. And so you've got the crowd behind you. And, of course, everyone wants to see a win at homecoming. So for the first half, before the homecoming festivities, it is going to be loud. That's when you set the tone. For those that stay for the second half, even better. You'll see even more good football. So it's just this is the game. The players have to be ready for it.
So if you're a small business in the Americus area, be ready for tomorrow night. Between Southland Academy and Sumter County, there's going to be loads of people in town tomorrow night. Our show is brought to you each week also by the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can even do the famous discount double check to ensure that you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks again to Marty McDonald. You can reach them at 928-3686 or look them up on Facebook. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. That gets us to the Sumter County High School Panthers. They moved to 7-0 with another blowout win. This time it was over Spencer High of Columbus. 51-14 was the final score in that game. Sumter County has now played 7 games. Logan, they've only allowed a total of 49 points all season. Most of that has been at the backside of games when some of those subs get in. So no question the defensive side of the football for the Panthers has been kind of the shining star.
And that's what Coach Will Rogers does. He's the head coach, but he's also calling the plays for the defense. The defense, those are his guys. That's who he wants. That's who he wants to succeed. He's a very defensive-minded coach. And so as long as he's there, you're going to see Sumter with a good defense, or at least the defense who's going to fight and fly to the football. That's one thing. They're good right now, but even when you have those subs come in, those guys who are just playing for experience, they are flying to the football. No tackle is a solo tackle. There's always a host of blue jerseys on the ball at all times, and that is good to see in young players. That's great to see in guys who are trying to learn the game, because that's how it should be done. Unless it's a one-on-one situation, there should never be an open tackle or a solo tackle. Always need to be multiple people on the ball, and they are doing that. Coach Rogers has that defense humming.
If you compare Carver to Sumter County defensively, Carver's only allowed 44 points in 7 games. They've pitched a shutout in 4 of those 7 games. So both of these teams coming in tomorrow night very defensive-minded. Carver shut out Shaw 40-0 last week. Kelston Tarver for Carver rushed for 117 yards. Jacoby Caslin, who's their top receiver, he had 121 yards receiving last week. And their quarterback, Logan, most of the time when we think quarterback, we think somebody that's a real dazzler. This kid is more of a game manager. He threw last week for 153 yards. Overall, when you look at Carver's roster, they are loaded with college-level talent.
Absolutely. And you talk about the game manager. A game manager, when you've got a team that's this good, that's all you need to be. I mean, you look at Tom Brady for most of his career. Obviously, he had the flashes of being just the greatest quarterback of all time, which I believe that he is. But for the most part, he's just putting the ball where it needs to go. That is exactly what you need to do when you have a team that is good. Let the guys be good. Get it? There's nothing wrong with throwing a screen pass, throwing a 4-yard hitch route, and letting a receiver run. You don't have to make all these flashy plays. Just get – you talked about the Jimmies and Joes earlier.
Yeah.
When you have really good Jimmies and Joes, get them the football and let them be good at football.
Let playmakers be playmakers.
Absolutely.
Logan, we had A.J. Kearse on. He was certainly the star of the show for Sumter last week with 2 rushing touchdowns as well as 2 defensive touchdowns, a scoop and score and an interception return for a touchdown. The other star is a guy that I told you about early in the season. He's a freshman, Aiden Robinson, last week. He had a big game with 95 yards receiving as a freshman.
Oh, yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete. You know, I do the sideline reporting for the Sumter Radio, so I've been down there a couple games. And last week, he broke off a big play, gets down, he ended up on the 3-yard line, made a spectacular attempt to dive for the pylon. And he's down there having fun after, he's getting there, he's having a good time. And he went up to me, he's like, "Hey, man, am I slow? Everyone's telling me I'm slow. Am I slow?" Like, no, man, it's just whatever. It's just so fun to see a guy with that much talent being able to have so much fun on the sideline. You know, one of the first games I was down there, they played Griffin. He grabbed a coach's headset and started acting like a coach on the sideline. You know, we're just cutting up out here, having a great time. He's a very talented player. It's great to see him out there go play ball.
I also want to throw some kudos out to the quarterback for Sumter County. Ishmael Jones had one of his best games last week, threw for 125 yards, used his legs a lot. Sumter, we said Carver is loaded with talent. Sumter's also loaded with talent. Here's where I see a difference, Logan, and you kind of chime in on this. Carver is at the top of the mountain right now. They have proven they can win. They've won in big games. They won a state championship last year. Sumter is trying to get to where Carver has been. And so far, they've done a good job of getting there. Can they get over the hump and knock Carver off the top of the mountain? Don't tell me your score prediction,
All right.
but do you think we're going to compete?
I definitely think it's going to be a competition. You know, I've done like I said, on the sideline, do a couple interviews with the players after the game, talk to some of the guys. They're all excited. They know how big of a game this is. And AJ was talking about the discipline from the coaching staff and from the players. They all know what this is. They all know the stakes. They all know what's at play. And many people I've heard saying this is the region championship for sure. Probably a state championship level match happening tomorrow night. And these players are going to be ready. They're excited for it. They know the kind of game it is last year. See, for both teams, Carver won big last year. Sumter, of course, lost big last year. It was a shutout. And that does not happen often in these past couple of years. This Panther offense is not used to that. And so Carver, I'm not saying they're going to underestimate Sumter by any means, but, you know, when you shut out a team last year and it's pretty much the same guys, that does play into the way you're preparing for the game. And same with Sumter. It's pretty much the same group of guys on defense. You got to be ready for them. Last year, what cost Sumter was the mistakes that they made. I believe there were 5 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
It was not a very well played game offensively, and don't let the score from the Spencer game fool you. That game was sloppy. That was they were about to go down early in the first quarter. Then AJ Kearse had that scoop and score for a touchdown that flipped the game. But if Sumter plays like they played last week, I don't think it'll be competitive. But I also think that they know that.
Yeah.
They're ready. They're going to come out firing. This is going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be – energy is going to be high in the stadium. Highly encourage you to come watch it.
I do think what Logan just mentioned, the energy in the stadium is going to be a big thing tomorrow night. And that's the one thing going into the matchup that the Panthers do have an advantage. Can Finkley Robinson Stadium, Alton Shell Field, can it become what it was back in 1999 and 2000? And for you older guys than that, back in 74 and 75. This Panther football program has a proud history. Tomorrow will be just another step in that history. Logan, I looked at 2 polls this week. Both polls had Carver as the number 1 team in the state. One of the polls actually had Sumter as the number 4 team. The poll I usually use has Sumter as the number 7 team. Georgia High School Sports Daily has Carver as a 1-point favorite. Logan and I will talk about that in just a moment. A few other area games that we just want to quickly mention. Crisp County at 2-5 had a big win last week over Tattnall County. This week they'll host Appling County, who is 3-3. Appling is under first-year head coach Tucker Pruitt. Many of you will remember Tucker from his days at Fitzgerald. He's now over at Appling. Crisp is under first-year head coach Justin Newman. Logan, Appling County is favored by 9. Do you think that's accurate?
I don't know. I haven't seen Appling County. Sumter does play Crisp County at the beginning of the year, so I've seen Crisp County. I mean, it's just not the showing you'd expect out of Crisp County. I don't know if it's favored by 9. I assume it'll be a pretty close game. I think Crisp County, they're not used to playing like this. So I have reason to believe the players are coming out. They're trying every week. So if they're seeing they're that close, I have reason to believe they'll make a close game.
I think Crisp County is going to put the win on the board tomorrow night. If you look at who Crisp has played in their first 5 games, all of those are highly ranked teams, including Sumter County, and they've been competitive in all of those games. Justin Newman looks like he's got things moving in the right direction now as they've won their last 2. I'm going to go with Crisp in that one. Lee County, 5-2, got back to their winning ways this past week with a win over Coffee County, 35-14. This week, the Trojans have an open week as they prepare for Veterans High School. So congratulations to Lee County on their win last week. Got a lot of teams open this week. Marion County, 0-7. They'll be open this week after suffering their 7th consecutive loss last Friday to Crawford County, 41-20. Marion's next game will be on October the 17th at Macon County. Speaking of Macon County, they're also open. They're 2-5, and they'll be open for the 2nd consecutive week, back-to-back open weeks. Somebody needs to redo their schedule. Finally, Terrell Academy. Terrell's 4-3. They take on Brad Wells and the Valwood Valiants. Valwood is a 22-point favorite in that. So I'm going to have to go with Georgia High School Sports Daily on Valwood. All right, Logan, that gets us to prediction time with our 3 local area teams. Of course, Sly County is open this week. Darren Alford's squad gets a chance to rest. Let's start with Southland Academy. They're going to host Trinity Christian. Both teams come in at 5-2. What do you think?
I'm going to have to go with Southland. I think, like we talked about it enough there. It's a big game energy, big fight feel, so to speak. You got a team coming off 5 consecutive wins. Getting around this time, you're thinking playoffs, and you don't want to risk soiling your chances by losing a game, especially a game with this big. You disappoint everyone if you lose on homecoming. And homecoming's supposed to be a game. You schedule it for your win. Yep. That's what homecoming's supposed to be. You want to go out, get the seniors who are going out on a win, give the guys coming up, get them hyped, big time. Boom, we want a big game. That's what we're trying to do. I think Southland's going to do it.
I too think Southland's going to win this. I'm going to go with Southland as well. After the way Chance's squad has performed over the last 3 weeks, they have proven themselves to me, and now they're going to have to prove me wrong if I'm wrong. But Southland Academy clicking on all cylinders. Mike Shaddle's offense really doing the job. Even up front, we've bragged on the offensive line a lot lately. They're doing a great job. They're skilled players. McMichael at quarterback, Alan Stick running the football, Bryant Rowland, Jamarcus Walker. They've just got a lot of kids that are playing well right now, and we're going to go with Southland Academy. Here's the big one, Sumter County facing number 1 Carver. Logan, I'm going to send it to you first. Give me your honest opinion.
I mean, if we could have a tie, I think that's what I would predict. I don't know. He said before we got on air, we were talking about the game. I was like, man, when we get to score predictions, we're both going to find out what my prediction is. The bias in me is telling me to pick Sumter. I think that's what it's going to be, but I don't think it'll be by more than a touchdown. I think these 2 teams, it's just going to be so highly competitive. It's one of those games where even like I have a fandom. Of course, I want Sumter to win. I'm just rooting for a good football game. That's all it is. This game, there's no reason why it won't be good. I see it being a phenomenal game that will be talked about for at least the next couple of years. If they win, I think, excluding anything in the playoffs, I think this will be the win on Coach Will Rogers' on his resume. There it is. That'll be the win looking back on his tenure as a coach. Whenever he either retires or goes somewhere else, that'll be the one. If they can pull out this one, I think they got it.
This may surprise you. I'm also going to go with Sumter County, and here's why. It's not just a pick of the heart. These kids that are seniors now, I watched at the Sumter County Rec Department. They won state as 8-year-olds. They won state as 10-year-olds. They won state again as 12-year-olds. They went to the middle school. They went undefeated at the middle school. It gets a little harder, obviously, when you get to the varsity level, but we've seen progression. And as we said when we were breaking down this game, Carver's at the top of the mountain. Sumter County's trying to knock them off and get there. They didn't do it last year. I've got a lot of faith in these kids and this coaching staff. I'm going to go with Sumter in a close one as well. No matter who you support, Sumter or Southland, go out and see them tomorrow night. 2 great games right here in Americus. It ought to be a good football weekend.
I also think, just to further add to the hype of this game, looking at some of the scores for Carver last year, they lost one game. I believe it was Harris County early in the year. Every other game was just a drubbing, to the furthest extent. 50 points here, 50, boom, 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 boom. And then you get to Sumter, and it was 31-0, I believe was the final score. And then even in the playoff, the state championship, they won 52-14. Sumter was their closest game besides the game that they lost. And even with the game that Sumter played, they did not play a good game on that fateful Thursday evening, but they still held Carver to the least amount of points that they put up all year besides the one game they lost. And so I think with Sumter's defense being, I would say, better this year with home field advantage, I really do. I'm just going to further my own pick of Sumter. I think it'll be a good game.
Normally, home games are not on the radio. However, for this game, it will be on the radio. Donnie McCrary, Doug Gooden, and our own Logan Luten will be on the sideline tomorrow night. So if for some reason you can't make it to the game, make sure you tune in to 98.7 and listen to those guys call the football game. Also want to mention this. If you're watching on Facebook, you can download or look up Georgia Alabama Sports Live. They are a live streaming group that will be here tomorrow night to broadcast the game. You'll be able to watch the actual game and see them. So a lot of fun. We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Please go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Whatever platform you're watching on today, like and share this video. Logan, we almost hit 3,000 views last week. We had 2,910 views. So make sure and share and like this video. Thanks again to our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Go out and support your team this week. For my friend Logan Luten, also Scott Westbrook up in Colorado, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.